Ready.
I'm Vila Lucas, and I'm here with Cynthia Wenner, and we are talking about the Dance of the Radiant Cross method. So, this is a method, Cynthia, you've been working with for about 8 months or so, and I'm just curious what you would say has been the biggest impact for you in working with this method.
Oh, hi, everybody. So, the biggest impact in working with the Dance of the Radiant Cross for me has been to feel a sense of sure sense of personal power. It has provided a process that allows me when I'm feeling anything, when I'm clearly there's energy that's up for me to one identify that there's something going on, and two, work with it in a way that is novel, in a way that
Mm.
is gentle, a way that is empowering, and a way that is helping to cut through old coping styles and get to the heart of the matter.
Nice. That's great. You know, I know that you're someone who through your work, so you teach classes and you're online a lot right now. Um, and so there's a lot of that kind of mental space. And I know that through the times that we've talked about the dance of the radiant cross, that part of the emphasis is really on how it moves through the body and having a sense of that embodiment, energetic side of it. I'm wondering if you want to comment at all on that piece.
Yeah, thanks. It is true that for my day work, I'm a professor. And so I am in my head a lot. And yet I also do a lot of cross training, if you will. So I'm very drawn to body work and dancing um, and going within and meditating and really connecting and grounding. And so this technique feels very resonant with a method to bring you back into that body mind spirit awareness. Like you can not um, distract yourself from the present moment when you're doing the dance of the radiant cross. It really is all about bringing you into deep awareness of what matters, what is the essence of whatever you're working with, whatever you're dancing with, and allowing yourself to go through a structured process that really is an embodiment practice. And that's something I really appreciate about it.
I love the way you said that, like really get in touch with what matters. I mean, would you say it's true that for the most part, it's really easy for us in our day-to-day lives to be constantly kind of distracted by things that don't really matter? Do you find that that's a place that kind of throws you off in your day-to-day life and in such a way that, having a structure to get you to what matters makes such a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. So really easy to get distracted. Mother of three, married, lots of different priorities tugging at me, and my commitment during this time of the pandemic has been to just have impeccable self care. And so the Dance of the Radiant Cross has been something that has provided that structure that I can keep going back to and keep working with. I have another person that started the same time as I did, and we will work together to really help us come back into alignment and kind of cull away those distractions and be present with what is, and to in a very deep way feel held by another, um, and and by myself, and sometimes that makes all the difference. The other thing though that's really amazing about this process is that it kind of it allows you to feel what you need to feel, and then it helps provide a structured way to move from those feelings into an empowered space of deep knowingness.
Oh,
And that's something that's different than other techniques that I've tried. And so I just want to mention that as as something that why I feel such an affinity for the dance of the radiant cross.
I love that. I love the way you said that, that deep knowingness. Will you speak more about that? Because that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so part of the dance of the radiant cross is to work through some structured questions to get to a point where you're identifying what we call the jewel of great worth. And that is this expression within that's just wanting to be acknowledged and held
Mm.
and grown. It wants an avenue to be felt, heard, seen, expressed. Honestly, it's like the seed of creativity, right? And that's all individual and different for each one of us. And this method allows you to identify what that jewel of great worth is, and then to move through what blocks you from expressing that jewel, yourself, your most creative expression, and again, not to get stuck in those blocks, but to energetically clear them. And amazingly, once you do that energetic clearing, you know, just underneath like any story, it just feels like you've been cleansed. And um, and and while those blocks might still show up from time to time, they don't run you. At least that's been my experience, and that's what's made such a huge difference, especially in this very, very challenging time.
Yeah, I'm reminded of one of the stories that you shared in the group as we were coming through a number of months back, where you did some of the dance of the radiant cross and got in touch with that jewel of great worth, and how much it changed the dynamics in your household and in your family because of your clarity and your connection. And it wasn't like it was something that you had to then like say to everybody and hey, this is it, like it must be like this, but rather just it was kind of this magical thing I think that you were describing. Do you remember this story?
Yeah, I do. Some of the details are lost now, but it actually speaks to the alchemical process that's going on here. Is that once you realize, what that jewel is, and in that case, it had to do with really taking a stand, if I recall, for the way I wanted to be interacting
Mm,
as a family. And so instead of, giving some ultimatum or, putting my foot down and saying, no, 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 we can't have this, it was more coming from that space of deep knowingness, like, this is what I value. And I have faith that we can create this here, and this is what really matters to me. And like coming from that angle, if you will, or that deep knowingness, I don't need to say anything. It's just pattern shifted. It's like when you show up in resonance with your values, people know it, whether you say anything or not.
yeah.
And that was really, really empowering.
Yeah. And one of the key themes in the Dance of the Radiant Cross is dynamic balance. And what I love that you're speaking to is kind of that balance between masculine and feminine. And masculine, in this context, we're talking about masculine being the sort of like, mental efforting kind of like, I got to make this happen. And the feminine being more of that kind of container, more of that intuitive, like we're going to just let it arise. Um, and so what I love that you're speaking to is kind of the power of that feminine clarity, where it's like this is just what's embedded in the structure of what of what is here in the moment. And when we can identify that and connect to it in a way that really works and resonates, then that, the power of that going out, is really magical.
Yeah. I mean, you said it so well. It's hard to know how to follow that, but I can just attest to there being several occasions after I would do Dance of the Radiant Cross where because I am feeling self acknowledgement, self appreciation, self awareness, then I show up differently. And that is really, really appreciated by my family because we're all in it together, right? And, I would just contrast that with some of the counseling my partner and I have done in the past. And while it's been of value, um, you know, we would find ourselves oftentimes embroiled in that emotional framework that had been created by that counseling session, and it was easy to feel disconnected. And so, this is a very different practice in terms of really, kind of gets back to ultimately, you can't change anyone outside of yourself. What you can do is become more aware of what your inner longings are and express yourself from that place. And it is a more receptive, accepting place. And I think that makes a huge difference. It really does shift dynamics with everyone around you.
Yeah, and this has been such a fun place where, as both as moms and, women who are doing, and work in the world, there's a lot that we're juggling, right? So you and I have had a number of these conversations, and one of the things that I often am, encouraging moms to do, and parents in general, but especially moms, is to approach family life from this place of harmony, like how can we harmonize together? And so instead of that, dictating, and instead of like, oh, we're going to have rules and tell people what to do. And so it's been interesting because, it's like that question comes up, or like, how do we find that harmony? And I think, what you were speaking to is exactly that, right? It's like when we have, that truth telling, each person is really tapped into to that jewel of great worth, that true authentic place, then we can find the places where that co-creation, co-expression, where that harmonization really can be expressed.
Yeah, yeah. So while this is a method for really inner work, inner radiance, right? It promises uh, great dividends, if you will, a great return in really helping you in your connectedness with others. And I think, especially when we're being asked to physical distance, how important it is to stay connected, um, spiritually and emotionally and psychically in healthy ways with those that we love and who are in our lives.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Cynthia. It's been wonderful talking with you. Thanks for taking time to chat with me about this.
You're so welcome.
All right. And we'll dance again with you soon.